You're listening to the Confidence Coach Podcast, episode 69. From Suicidal to CEO, an interview with Alyssa Story. Today's guest on the podcast is Alyssas Story, and I am very excited for you guys to listen in on this conversation. Alyssa is a personal development, self-love, and mindset strategist. She now embodies the mantra suicidal to CEO after years of being bullied, suffering from clinical depression, and self-sabotage. Alyssa has built a six-figure empire empowering other women how to become the CEOs of their own lives, no matter what their past looks like or where they come from. She is living proof that if you keep showing up for yourself, you can and will create a fulfilling and confident life you've always dreamt of. You guys, I'm so excited. Let's dive on in.
So my name is Alyssas Story, and I am a mindset and self-love strategist. I love empowering other women to live out their best life by being the most confident versions of themselves and pushing past their limiting beliefs and their fears so that they can achieve the things that they want to achieve.
I love that. Okay, so how did you get started on this? Because I just had this conversation with another person earlier, and I think a lot of people have the mindset, people who I would say lack confidence, think that you just like flip a switch and that confidence is just something that like you're born with. And for me personally, I feel like you have to have some sense of courage and overcome either challenges or fear to have that confidence. So tell me kind of where you started and how this confidence started to build.
Yeah. So you definitely was not born with it. Oh my gosh. I am an energy ball now. I have so much energy. I have confidence many different days, but I still have my days where I don't feel the best. So how I really was able to embody this more confident version of myself was growing up. My story is I was bullied for 6 years, middle school and high school, even going to freshman year of college before I dropped out. And that hit me. That hit my self-esteem and my ego, one time loving myself and then going to school and having people hate on the way I looked and the way that I acted and just being different from other people. And once I got out of school, once I dropped out, I actually became my own bully. I was so mean to myself. I put myself down. I didn't think I could amount to anything in life. It got to a point where I didn't have any hope to even move forward. I was sabotaging myself by binging and purging with an eating disorder. I'd stay in my bed for weeks on end because I didn't think that I was enough to do anything. And I'd see all these people online like, wow, look at what they're doing. But I never thought that I could do that same thing myself. So how it really changed was my mindset. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because when you realize that you can take back your power and you have everything that it takes, no matter what you've been through, no matter what people have said about you, no matter what you've said about yourself, you can embody what it looks like to be a confident person. And that's different for everyone. For me, it's having energy. It's having my shoulders back. And no matter what situation I'm in, it's showing up powerfully. So that's kind of how, that's a very short version of my story. So we could go more in detail. I was bullied and now I'm here, but definitely not.
No, I love that. Okay. So let's talk about that. I don't want to like pour salt in an open wound, but like, can you tell some of the people, some of the things that would be said to you and what was like the most hurtful and, even might still be painful to hear today?
Yeah. I like the last question. What's maybe still painful to this day, because sometimes you feel like you've healed from certain things, but it can show up in different areas. And that's been something that I have actually faced a little bit recently when people will comment on certain things about my body. So when I was bullied, it was usually physical for the most part. And they would call me twiggy and anorexic and, just anything about being skinny. I was born very, very small before I got into the fitness industry and, put on muscle and built the curves and all of that. It hurt. So the other day, even I just had someone comment on something and I wasn't in the best place at the time. So it hurt. It hurt so bad. I feel like it just opened that wound all over again. So anything to do with my physical appearance, even things about my face, just nitpicking things about my face, my nose. And I had a group of guys talk about my chin. They were tearing me apart. It was painful.
Yeah, I know kind of how you feel. I wasn't called like Twiggy or anything like that, but I have a cleft chin, which means that like I have a chin that's shaped like a butt.
Kind of me too. I literally, my chin is prominent.
Exactly. People would be like, why do you have a butt on your face? I'm like, mind your own business. But I want to just say that like, I love your story because I've talked to a lot of people who, you know, they're like, oh, it must be rough to be skinny and blah, 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 blah. And I feel like there's a lot of fat shaming, and people like talk about how it's okay to be like overweight or obese or, you know, like self-love, da, 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 da. But I don't feel like it's the same on the opposite end of the spectrum, you know?
Yeah,
So do you feel like you're kind of a warrior for those people now? Or how did you get it to the point where you're so passionate about this work and just self-love in general? Like, who helped you, or what steps did you take? I know that was a lot of questions.
Well, the one that stood out the most for me is like, who helped me? Because the truth is I didn't do this on my own. And I used to want to do it on my own. I'm like, oh, I've got this. But no, I reached out and I asked for help multiple times to this day. I mean, we're in a mastermind together. I always want to be connected with other empowering women or people who can help lift me up when I feel like I can't myself. So the person who really changed so much for me was Tony Robbins. And I'm actually about to go to a seminar in 2 weeks in LA, because I have to see it again. I have to experience it again, because I was such a broken girl. And I went there. I'm like, wow, I can take back my power. Like, I can be whoever I want to be. Amazing experience, by the way. Incredible.
So tell us about that, because honestly, this is just for my selfishness here, but that is on my bucket list, is to go to a Tony Robbins event, because I've been following him for years, and he is so passionate, and he too has been kind of a leader in my life, you know, and helped me kind of get from where I was to where I am. I mean, there's been many people who have been involved, but he is one person that stands out. So walk us through your first experience at a Tony Robbins event.
Yeah. So I actually went when my boyfriend and I broke up. We're going through a breakup. I was trying to figure out who I was, what I wanted. And I actually skipped the first day. I didn't think I was going to go. I was so scared. No one was going with me. I was by myself. This was 3 years ago. So I was 20 years old, and I sat in the very back of the room. Everyone's running in there. Like, even I was there the second day, but it's just like this huge family, and everyone's smiling at you. And I'm crying. I'm blowing my eyes out. I just gone through a breakup, and I'm like, I literally am just reaching for any hope, because I was so broken. I'm laughing now. It was terrible. But I sit in the back seat, like the actual back row, and one of the workers comes up to me, and he noticed that I wasn't up and I wasn't dancing when everyone was getting up and dancing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I have to do this. This is so embarrassing. But everyone else is doing it, so you look really stupid if you don't. And it's really cold in there. It's really fucking cold. So he gave me his jacket, and I wore his jacket, and I sat next to an older man who was going through a divorce, and a younger kid who was like really nerdy but so adorable, who didn't really like to participate either. And it was such an uncomfortable experience, because you just look stupid if you don't do all the things that he says to do. If you don't participate, you're not going to get anything out of it. And on the second day, well, my first day being there, I was kind of laying back. I wasn't wanting to do as much. But when I came back for the third day, my second day, that's where I broke down, and I'm like, I need this. And he takes you through so many different exercises, and I couldn't even tell you exactly what. I just remember how I feel from it, and how I felt during that time. He hits your weakest spots that you didn't even think were there. You know, we say, I'm depressed, but it's so much deeper. There's so many different things, or I don't feel confident, or I don't feel like I could start this business, but it's so much deeper. It goes back to so many internal things that he really helps you unravel there. And so I walked out completely different. I was on fire, and still to this day, like, I mean, I'm obsessed with him. I call him my dad. He's like my father. Like, he's my dad, because he's so great. So I'm so excited to go back again and experience the same thing.
So I love that. Okay. So you talked a little bit about depression. So would you say that you suffered from, I talked to some women, and they're like, oh man, like I had such like depression and anxiety, but I felt like I couldn't ever talk about it, because it's almost like a label, you know, and they're like, oh, you can't talk to that person, they're depressed. So did you ever struggle with any of that stuff?
Yeah. Well, I like to look at depression as my superpower now, because it used to be something that I looked at as my biggest weakness. And I thought it made me a weak person. I was scared to talk to people about it. But that's what made me feel worse. That's what made me feel more isolated. And still to this day, I'm even so real with my clients, like I still struggle with it. But I try to separate myself from it. It's not who I am. That is, I'm not depression, but it's simply something that I go through, and it's something that ebbs and flows. It's here one minute, it's gone the next. So it's something I really like to embrace. And for those people who do struggle with it, it can serve you in so many ways. Like I thought it was the last thing that would help me be successful in certain areas of my life, but using it to be more vulnerable and more authentic and connect with people on a deeper level has changed my life.
I love that. So you talk about depression as your superpower. Would you say that that's one of your only superpowers, or what other superpowers have you embodied over the last few years?
Second one I could think about is definitely authenticity. I'm very authentic. I love you because I know you're not afraid to speak your mind.
No,
and
not at all.
I vibe with that, because before I was from being bullied for so many years, I just crawled into my shell and I didn't want to be seen. But now I want to be seen, and it's scary to be seen for who you are, because you get a lot of judgment, a lot of hate, but on the other side, so many people are able to connect with you and relate to you. So that's another superpower, is just being authentic and showing up as who I am, regardless of what people are going to think of that.
I love that. And I find it funny because vulnerability is hard. You know, a lot of people, I was just having this conversation again, you know, a lot of times we think like vulnerability is, oh, somebody showed a zit that they had on social media. And it's like, oh, come on. Like that's superficial vulnerability. Like I want to know like what's really going on, because you're right. Like not every day is rainbows and kitty cats. Right. And like, that's what makes us human though. The good, the bad, and the ugly, and like learning how to balance all of the things and recognizing like, oh, hey, I'm going through this emotion right now. Like that's okay. And even like talking about that to people, because they do. A lot of people, you know, myself included, felt like you had to hide behind this mask of perfectionism. And if you weren't perfect, you were going to be judged, or people were going to say things to you. And you know what? If they do, that's on them. That's their projection that they're putting onto you, because they aren't perfect. Right. So kind of walk me through how you, like, what actions did you take other than going to the Tony Robbins to start working on yourself to be this vulnerable, confident individual?
Yeah. Becoming self-aware. So I had a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings that I felt, obviously from just going through a lot of traumatic experiences in my childhood. So meditation, it's such an eye roll type of thing to say, but for me to tap into what I'm feeling and actually allow those feelings to be there, it's transformed the way that I think and the way I am right now, because I accept those good and bad feelings. They both work for me. So in the past, for example, before I started becoming just self-aware and meditating and spending time by myself, I would look at any negative emotion as something just terrible. And I'd act on those emotions in different ways, in self-sabotaging ways. But now I look at it, I'm like, okay, what can I get from this? What can I learn from this? And I feel like the only way you're really able to do that is if you are aware. And if you're aware, okay, this is kind of what I'm feeling right now. Let me work through this. Let me see what I can do about this. Whether it's you feel lazy one day, like even for the gym, sometimes I'm like, do I want to show up or do I not want to go to the gym because I'm feeling lazy? Or is it because I really need a break? And before, I wasn't able to do those things because I didn't really know me. I didn't know who I was. I only knew what other people perceived me to be. And that was my identity. So self-awareness.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was to that, you know, I remember looking back and it's like, why am I tired? Is it tired because I need a break, or is it tired because I've been running my ass off and I haven't slept in 3 days? Like listening to kind of like what your body is telling you and being okay with that versus like, what does everybody else think that I need to do right now? So I absolutely love that. Okay. So you are in the fitness industry, or you're transitioning into life coaching, or what would you say is your your niche right now? What are you teaching women, and how are you teaching women?
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of transitioning from the fitness industry. I was in the industry for, I'd say, 3 years once I first got on social media, and loved it. But my soul is craving deeper connection with women and helping them, with all the things that I've learned. So I'm now transitioning into mindset and self-love, confidence coaching, more of the personal development industry instead of just fitness. And this is where I will be able to teach women how to tap into their intuition and learn those things about themselves that is going to help them become a stronger, more powerful leader in their businesses and their careers and their lives. That is what lights me up so much. So I'm like beyond excited for this next step.
Okay. So what do you think, other than self-awareness and meditation, like what other things do you do on a daily basis? Like I know that there's a lot of people that have like affirmations that say that they say to themselves in the mirror, they do like journaling, or they, I don't know, get outside their comfort zone and just do like crazy things. Like what other things do you do throughout the day to kind of get your mind right?
Yeah. A huge one for me, I'd say this is actually my number one, even before, actually they're tied. It's really good to tap into yourself and your intuition, meditate, journal, affirmations. But if you're doing all that by yourself, you're going to go crazy. Like you need connection. So my biggest one is connection, having connection with the right people. I'd rather be completely alone. And I was for many, many years when I first started on my journey, as a coach. I'd rather be completely alone than with people who don't serve me and don't lift me up. So being around women who are so empowering, even men as well, who challenge me and don't let me settle in my comfort zone and push me when I feel like I can't push myself, that has been a game changer.
So what do you think the biggest thing that you have done outside your comfort zone has been?
The biggest thing outside my comfort zone. I have a good one. So last year I went to an all women's event called Pays to Be Brave in October. And this was in San Diego, California. And I was so scared more than anything to go here because I've had this belief that women don't like me and that they're not going to accept me. And showing up there, like I have like nerves right now just thinking about it, how I felt being in a room with like over 400 women. Am I going to be accepted? Are they going to love me? And just going up to them and talking to them. And I flew by myself. I knew one person there who I met on social media who was a speaker on stage. But other than that, I didn't know anyone else. So showing up there, knowing that I have to just be myself and show up as authentic as possible, and the right people are going to come into my life. And that's that. It was incredible. To this day, I would have spoke on stage for the first time 3 weeks ago, which is another huge, huge step out of my comfort zone. I was scared shitless. Like I literally thought right before, I'm like, if I didn't show up, like, would they care? But the lady who put on this event, I met her through the Pays to Be Brave event. The girls who I'm going with to Tony Robbins and to this event in, what's it called? Orange County. I wouldn't have met them if I didn't go to this event. So stepping out of my comfort zone and going there as well as speaking on stage, oh my gosh, I have to pat myself on the back for that. That was huge, huge for me.
I love this. Okay. So I too relate to the isolation. Like it's, for me, it's easy to do things by myself. And I was listening to a podcast. Oh God, it's probably been 6 months or a year ago from now. And I was listening to a woman and she's like, I could never do anything by myself. I always relied on people to go with me. And I was like, man, I'm the total opposite. Like I view myself as like a lone wolf. I'm like, nope, no big deal. I'll just do it by myself. I don't need people. And I always felt like the community that I had surrounded myself with, in my position at like my corporate job and things like that, it was very negative and very catty. Right. And so that was what my view on women together in a community setting would be like. It's just catty and all talking shit about one another. And so I was also very hesitant to join a community. So would you say that your experience was similar, or how was your experience with women prior to meeting these groups and these masterminds?
Prior to meeting these incredible women in my life, it was Catty. Most definitely. Very, very catty, talking behind my back, people being fake and pretending like they're friends with me, people trying to be friends with me just to say like they're friends with me and like tell other people things that I tell them. So I lost a lot of trust in women. I wouldn't get invited to certain events, and it hurt. Like, it hurt so bad. And it makes you feel really left out and like there's something wrong with you. But when I found that there are people as weird as I am out there that are so loving and accepting, I'm like, this is my tribe. And like, I can be who I want to be and still be loved. So yeah.
So how does it feel to finally find your tribe? Because I know that in itself is scary for me personally, and some of the women listening to this, some of the biggest struggles are asking for help. Mm-hmm. And how would you say you were able to find your tribe and ask for help and be vulnerable with those women?
Yeah. The only way that I was able to find this tribe was by getting out of my comfort zone. And the thing is, you have to ask like who it is that you're looking for. Like, what type of woman would you want to be friends with? And if you aren't that person already yourself, or exert some of that energy, then you're not going to really attract that. So everything that I wanted in someone, I tried to be myself. I tried to be the best friend possible, without, having people walk all over me, of course. And what was your question? Oh my God, I forgot what you said.
No, it's fine. So like, how did you, I know like getting out of the comfort zone, but like, how did you start to be vulnerable with these people? Because I know a lot of times, like in my head, I'm like, oh God, I should say this, but I don't want to say this, or should I say this, or should I dress like this? Like, how did you just start to show up as your authentic self within these groups?
Something that's really worked for me, I don't know if it's everyone's cup of tea, but is actually like asking for permission. Like, is it okay if we go deep like this, if we talk like this, if I'm honest with you, and kind of letting them know at the very beginning, like, this is kind of who I am. I'm a vulnerable person. I like to go deep. It sets a tone for people, if that makes sense. It's a weird thing that I've done, but I like, instead of just jumping into it and Alyssa just being this very emotional, deep person, they're like, what the fuck? Because you're not going to vibe with everyone. And I've noticed that even since the event, getting out of my comfort zone and meeting these incredible women, there's still some that just, they don't like me, and that's okay. You're always going to have people who don't like you. But when you do find those right people, you're going to feel that energy from them. Like, you just feel it. Like, the second that I just saw you in our mastermind group, I was like, this girl's awesome. And you just know. And so when you know that you like this person's energy and what they're putting out to the world and their passions, you just immediately feel safe. You feel safe with them. And it's an energy thing, and it's asking for permission if you need to be honest and to be real with them.
I love that. Okay. So I love like the hippie woo woo stuff and like the energy, because I too believe in that. If you think about it, like, you walk into a grocery store and, you're paying for your groceries, and you're the lady at the checkout's like, did you find everything okay? And you're like, oh God, like, can I just pay and get out of here as fast as I can? Versus like, if somebody's like, hey, did you find everything okay? And I mean, it doesn't have to be that black and white, but there's an energy behind every human interaction. And so I absolutely love that. I do. And I love that you're actually just so bold about the asking for permission, and I go back and forth on the asking for permission thing. There's like an inner rebel in here that's like, don't ask for any permission from anybody. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, that's good, because there's some times where like I enter a room and I think I intimidate people, for the lack of a better word. And I feel like that would eliminate a lot of like very uncomfortable conversations for other people if I was just like, hey, can I be real with you right now? Versus like, I'm going to lay it on you, so I really love that. I might have to try that. Yeah. Because I don't know if I've ever done that in my life. So
it helps a lot. And I have to say, you mentioned something, and right before this, I was actually at BJ's grabbing some lunch, and our waitress ran up to us, me and my boyfriend, and she was just an energy ball. And I'm like, are you serving us? I got so excited. And I'm like, yes, like, she was such just like a ray of sunshine. I'm like, you are my person. Like you are attracted to that energy, whatever it is that you're looking for. Like you're going to be attracted to it and you're going to find it. Absolutely. As long as you're putting it out yourself. So had to throw that in there. It's such a great experience.
It is though. I mean, like anytime you go somewhere and when you bring that light or that joy or that energy into places too, like I've made it a point. I have a natural resting bitch face. So like people just typically think that I'm angry all the time. And I'm like, no guys, I'm sorry. That's just my face.
Yeah.
But I've tried to make it a point to smile more. Cause I'm like, okay, I want my inside to match my outside. Cause like I'm feeling good, so I've made it a point to like smile at people or like say, hey, how's it going? And I've noticed how many like smiles and positive energy I get back. So do you ever do that where you're just like, I'm going to make somebody's day?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about that exact thing. Like you mentioned about feeling like people are maybe intimidated by you. I've had people say that to me before, especially guys, like I'm intimidated and I want people to know that they're safe with me. And like, I'm no different than you. Like I'm nothing special. I've lived and I've learned and I've created this life for myself, but I like to smile. Absolutely. And I ask myself this question. It may seem stupid, but questions really help me a lot. I'm like, what would like a very inviting person look like right now? Like, what would I look like? Because if you're like walking in and you're like looking at people like this, when I was speaking on stage at this last event, we got the photographer sent us a bunch of the photos. And one of the pictures when we were in a panel and they were asking some questions of us about us, on stage. It was me, this girl, and this other guy on both sides of me. And I was looking at this girl, Isabella, and she was speaking. And my face was the bitchiest face I've ever seen. It was so bad. And my girlfriend sent it to me. She's like, what were you thinking at this very moment? I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to look like that. So I have to check myself. I'm like, what would like an inviting person do? Like I'd smile at people and people think I'm weird sometimes for doing it. I don't know, just hugs, whatever I can do to make people feel like they're safe and they're accepted and they're loved, because I'd want that myself. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
I think this is awesome because I always say, ask more questions. And I ask myself more questions all the time. And, whether it be, like 5 years ago where I'm like, what would a normal person do right now? Or whatever it is, or like, what would a person that was doing this do right now? And I'm like, okay, now go do that thing. So yeah. I think that's incredible. So, I kind of want to take it back and talk a little bit about what do you think your biggest fear or your biggest struggle has been? Let's just keep it recent in the last year.
The question that comes up for me is, who am I to be doing this? And it's a comparison thing. When I'm a seminar freak. I love going to events. I love being in real life, connecting with other people. So when I went to a couple last year and I was sitting in the audience, just looking at all these incredible speakers on stage, I'm like, who am I to do that? Because I've always wanted to be a speaker. And I'm like, they're so talented. They have so much going for them. And I downplay my own capabilities. And it's been a big struggle for me to break through that. And it still comes up to this day. Absolutely. I have a huge event that I'm going to be speaking at March 30th. So almost a month from now. And I see these incredible speakers, famous speakers coming on stage. I'm like, shit, like I got to bring my A game. I'm like, who am I to be up there? But that's when I remind myself, and I have to have the support of other people who can remind me of who I am and my worth, and go back to all those things I was saying at the beginning about the things that I do to feel that confidence.
Yeah. It's that imposter syndrome. And I think a lot of us experience that. Even like me, when I first started on this, I'm like, who am I to start a podcast? Who am I to talk to these people? And then I have to check myself and, going back to the asking more questions, because none of these people were born with a trophy in their hand, right? Like they all started at day one, square one. They all walked before they, or, crawled before they walked before they run. Like we all have to start somewhere. And I think it's really easy to get caught up in that comparison game where we're like, okay, I'm comparing my day one to somebody's day 1,000. Right. Yeah. And then it's almost like, for me, I used to start to spiral and say like, oh God, why am I even doing this? Why do I try? Nobody cares. Nobody pays attention. Like, and it is hard. So what do you say to that person who's listening to this that wants to be a speaker or write a book, or hell, even just like go for the promotion at work or ask that person out, like, what do you say to that person?
I would say the same exact thing I say to myself. Who are you not to do that? Like, who are you not to? All of the people who you see who are successful and who have the relationship and the business and who are crushing it on stage, whatever it is, whoever it is that you look up to, like you said, they all started somewhere, and you can't be afraid to fail. You can't hold yourself back just because you're afraid that it's not going to go well at first, or it might look kind of messy, or people are going to see you fall, because that's the beauty of it. And I'm excited. I've already fallen. I mean, on this transition, I've already messed up and I've already learned so much. But you can't get to point A to point B just this straight line. Like, it takes a lot of ups and downs and failures and falls. But to ask yourself, who am I not to do this, is such an empowering question that you just have to answer yourself, because like, who are you not to? The other people who are out there doing all the damn things, they believe in themselves, and all you have to do is embody what it would look like for you to do those things, or to be that person that you want to be and show up like that.
Yeah, I love that. And you talked a little bit about, whether it's in business or things like that. And I know you are a business owner. So have your struggles been similar within business, or do you think they're, I don't know, easier, harder, or what's your journey been like on the business side of things?
Definitely it comes in waves, very, very powerful and strong and incredible. And then I have my crashes. I think what I've struggled with the most is how am I going to make this happen? Like the hows, like, what does this look like? And I get very overwhelmed with my next steps. The reason why I was good when I was working jobs was because I was being told what to do. So as an entrepreneur, you run the show. And I mean, unless you have someone above you telling you, Alyssa, here's what you need to do today, and here's what's going to help you this, or like coaches. That's why I hire a coach. That's why I work with coaches and mentors, because I need a little bit of guidance. But if I don't have that, I become very overwhelmed and stressed with, how do I make this happen? I have the vision, I have the dream, I have the goal and exactly what I want it to be and why I want it. But how to actually make it happen, the little steps to get to that place, can be difficult. So that's something that I've really struggled with owning 2 different businesses so far.
So would you say accountability and maybe strategy is the biggest thing that you've gotten from coaches?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I want to talk about that a little bit. I was very hesitant in, again, for selfish reasons. I was very hesitant in like hiring a coach in the beginning. And now I've had coaches for, I want to say 3 years or so. Like I've done like one-off, like spiritual sessions or like therapy sessions and things like that. But I always didn't go in it with like the right mindset. Right. And so learning to invest in myself that way was very difficult for me. One, a lot of times like the money came up, right? Like, is this worth the money? Is this worth that? Or is this worth the time? Or, I just start to second guess everything. Like, do I really need this? Do I really need to ask for help? Can I do this on my own? So what was your journey like when you were just like so done with all the excuses, and do you feel like your business really started to soar after hiring a coach?
I hired my first coach almost a year ago, and it was the best decision I had ever made in my life. It was the scariest decision I think I've ever made. That type of investment. I mean, putting down $12,000 when you're 22 years old and you don't know exactly how this is going to look, and it's the biggest investment you've ever made in your life. It was so scary, but I learned to trust myself. I was going to say to trust other people. Yes. Like the person who I hired, but myself even more than that, because when you make an investment to yourself, a lot of people stray away from that because they know the second that they put that money down, like you're committed, like you have to show up, and it's scary. I mean, you sign a fucking contract and it's like, okay, I'm in this. And there were so many times that I've wanted to pull out of different things. And I've even reached out to some of the different coaches because I'm like, I don't know if this is right for me, et cetera, et cetera. And they're like, no, follow through. Like, you need it. This is why you need this. You need to show up. If you want other people to show up for you, you've got to show up for yourself. Even when you're doubting and you're uncertain, But yeah, and investing into myself for the very first time last year, I would not financially have the freedom that I do now. I would not have the friends I do now, or this knowledge of how incredible the online space is and what you're capable of creating. Even if you didn't even know anything at first, it's available to anyone who really wants to dive into that. And I was so sick and tired of what I was doing. I was showing up every single day in order to make barely a living. And I loved what I did, but I knew deep down that I had a bigger purpose to serve. And it first took investing into myself in order to bring that to the world. That makes sense. That.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think, for me, and I know for some people listening to this, sometimes we get hung up on the cost, like the actual like money part of it, but really like you're investing so much more than just dollar bills. Like you're investing time, you're investing energy, and you need to show up in a whole new way. Right. And so up leveling yourself is scary, and looking back, I mean, what would you say is your return on investment? Like what's that worth to you now?
From making my first investment, you're saying?
Yeah. Like just the return on investment. So like you started to invest in yourself. What has come from it? I know you talked a little bit about like friends and more money, but I mean, like, what's that really worth to you?
Yeah. It's confidence in myself. It's like, holy shit, I could stick with something for that long and I can follow through the entire way. And I wanted to give up there and there and there, but look, I did it. So when I invest in myself again, I'm like, girl, look what you did a year ago. Like, you've got this shit, and you were uncertain a year ago, but you asked for help, and it just makes you feel like a badass. Like, you feel so confident because it's a big deal. And for those who are afraid of investing in themselves, I mean, I get it, but I'm at this point now where if I see the value, I'm all in, because I know that I could show up for myself, and I trust myself enough that even during the down times, I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to show up as powerfully as possible. And the return of investment there's a lot of external things and materialistic things that are fucking awesome, but the internal confidence and trust that you gain within yourself is incredible. I would not take any of that money back for the world.
It's kind of hard to put into words how everything just like unfolds. I know for me, I'm always like, I don't know what all happened, but things happened and I feel amazing now. So
yeah.
A lot of scary shit, but a lot of confidence at the end. So
yeah.
All right. So what's next for you? What's coming up for you?
Yeah. Oh, I get so excited. What's next for me is I am launching a 5 weeks to self-love and confidence course. I'm so freaking excited about this because, like I said, I've been wanting to make this transition. But this is what I've been called to do. This is something that I want to serve to other women who are looking to feel more confident, the way that I've just built confidence in my own life by investing in myself. It's such a powerful thing. And for you to be able to do anything effectively in life, you first have to start with yourself and fill your cup first. So that's what's coming up. And I'm stoked. I'm so excited about it.
I'm excited. Just seeing you get excited is like, I love it. It's all about the energy. All right, cool. So how can people get a hold of you? How do people follow you?
Yeah. Instagram is definitely the best way. My Instagram, do you want me to share that on here?
Do it.
All right. Well, give me the plug. It's Alyssa, my first name, Alyssa, and then _ last name is Shifrel, Shifrel. And yeah, Instagram is like my thing. So best place to find me.
Okay. Excuse me. That's awesome. I love this. I can't wait to see. Did you say what day this course is launching?
I do not have a launch date at the moment, so I'll be announcing that soon. But the best way to stay in touch with me and make sure that you're the first person to hear is to go to my email list. So that is in my bio if you want to get on the email, so you make sure that you know exactly when it does launch.
Okay. So basically everybody needs to head over to Instagram and give you a follow, and cannot wait for this 5-week course that you got going on.
5-week course.
Woo! All the self-love, all the confidence. I just want to say thank you. I loved this conversation. I loved where it went. And it's nice to have conversations with people who are just like vulnerable and they're like, hey, like this is what happened. Like I was bullied. I had this happen and I had this happen, but this is where I am now. And so I just want to say thank you, because that really means a lot to me. I've always been seeking people like yourself that are just willing to step into that power, to step into that, you know, authentic truth, because I was always surrounded by people who were very fake, very phony, always wore a mask. And so I love that you're just like, I don't have a mask. This is me. This is how I'm showing up and this is how it is. So thank you. And do you have any final words for any of our listeners here?
That's a lot of pressure right there. I'm like, shit, what would I say? What do I want to be remembered for? I say this all the time. I think it's just my thing. But just show up powerfully and authentically. That's my motto this year, is just show the fuck up, because there's people who need what you have, and who are you not to be doing all those things that you want to do?
Who are you not? I love that. That's what I'm going to remember, I think, most on this. So, all right, cool. Thank you. And everybody go follow her. And if you enjoyed this episode, leave a review. Let us know what you enjoyed. We'll catch you all next time.